Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Midwest Drag Racing Series. Midwest Mondays as part of the Summit Racing Equipment Midwest Drag Racing Series presented by J&A Service. I am Luke. I'm joined with my faithful co-host, my good friend, my compatriot, Mike Narks. Narks, first off, Midwest Mondays. I got to give you credit for that. It's very alliterative, very snappy. I like it.
Man, listen, I'm excited. I've had this in the back of my mind for a long time. This is going to be something we're going to do often. I'm not going to say we're going to do this every week or even every other week,
Mhm.
but Midwest Mondays are definitely going to be the Mondays of a race week,
Yep.
and they're definitely going to be the first Monday of every month, especially while we're running through the season. I think this is going to give fans at home an opportunity to, meet some drivers. We got Aaron on here in a minute, and get some kind of some stats, some stories, some background on some of these guys that we don't get to tell on the live stream.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, for you and I, we're very busy during the weekends. And so
Mhm.
for me, it's an important time, I think, just to kind of unpack and process things because I gotta be honest with you guys, when you're calling a drag race, it is going in your eyes, out your mouth, and it doesn't always register up here. And you know
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about,
Yep.
Narks. And so, maybe some insight, maybe some behind the scenes access and
Yeah.
a little think about what we did last year, a little better. That's what we
Well,
always aim for, right?
and here's the other side of that too, right? When you're exactly right, when you're calling races, it's literally you're not grasping what's happening.
Mhm.
I'm on the starting line recording stuff. I'm looking through a screen this big to make sure we get the right shot, right?
Yep.
Well, this is going to give us a chance to go back through those 19 hours of live stream and find those good stories.
Hey, and speaking of live stream, we'd like to thank everybody who watched us over the Tulsa weekend. It was an awesome success. I have a couple notes here that we had over 100,000 live stream views thanks to Summit Racing and UEM Pistons for making it free for you guys because I honestly think that that's a huge thing. I mean, it's the big thing with drag racing right now is figuring out how to put butts in seats and get eyeballs on our racers because we have an awesome product, but we drag racing sometimes doesn't draw the crowds it might have in, like, let's say the 70s. And so for making it free, UEM Pistons and Summit Racing, they're not just helping us, they're not just helping you, but they're helping the sport as a
Mhm.
whole. And I think that is such an awesome thing. And 100,000 views. It was awesome to interact with as many of you guys as I did over the weekend. Don't be afraid to drop the comments today. Also, it'll be right here on my
Mhm.
screen. So as I look at you, I can see the comments pop in, and we welcome all of you guys watching. And also, the house was packed in Tulsa. Narks, I got
Yeah.
to give you props. You are a promoter, we'll say. You help put butts in seats at TRP, and you did a great job with coverage for Tulsa Raceway Park. And I mean, I got to give props to the city of Tulsa too, right? You guys, if you're watching this and you're in
Yep.
Oklahoma, you guys are one of the true great states in racing. Wherever we go in Oklahoma, we have great racers, and the fans always turn out to TRP. And that's why we love going to Tulsa Raceway Park as much as we do. Over 16,000 people showed up throughout the weekend at TRP. What's up, Tim? Man, I just what a great weekend, Narks. Man, it was good stuff. It was good stuff.
Well, and you talk about the live stream stuff, and we're talking about it here, like with Tim's comment. I mean, we had that dude. I think there was a number I looked at one time. It was like 870 something
That's
comments
insane.
on the live streams, right? And so being live on Facebook,
Mhm.
being live on YouTube, that really opens it up to a lot of people being able to see it, right? Well, here's what typically happens. You see it, you're like, oh, it's Friday. I've got a couple hours tomorrow. I could actually run over to the track, and
Mhm.
being the throwdown is free to get in, $25 to park. That's cheap. You're in there for nothing basically, and you're running around looking at cool cars. I mean, it was the live stream really helps kind of bring more people in, I feel like.
I totally agree. Exactly, Ultraman. Thank you, Summit Racing Equipment and UEM Pistons and Rings. And I want to highlight too, Tulsa is one of those races, and I will say this about any Midwest Series race, but especially Tulsa. The Throwdown in T-Town comes up again this fall. If you are within a reasonable driving distance, that is a race you should circle,
Yeah.
right?
And hey, Tulsa International Airport's cheap to fly into.
It is. It is. It's actually being near Minneapolis. It is the cheapest flight that we do to any race for me. But yeah, it is totally worth the trip. I would compare it almost to like if you're a dirt car racer and you're within a day drive of Knoxville. That weekend, man, you got to get to Knoxville for the night. You know what I'm saying? You know exactly what I'm saying.
I don't.
You're just like,
Hey, listen, we do dirt
that's
track
one of
stuff
those.
at Tulsa Speedway
Yep.
too.
That's
I don't
one of
spend much
those
time over
events.
there.
The throwdown in T-Town. Again, that will be our Ronnie Hobbs World Finals at
Yep.
the end of the season. We have a big story, Mike, and we got a guy sitting in the background right now. But before we bring him on, we'll talk while he isn't listening. Holy cow! I said in a video, and I don't know if you edited this out. Otherwise, I maybe. Oh, there we go. You're supposed to be the one in the storm. Goodness gracious!
Right.
I was going to say I may be in trouble with the big boss, but I said, I think the Wells family actually owns Tulsa Raceway Park now.
Yeah. It was Mid-Wells Drag Racing Series.
I like that. Oh man.
Yeah, it was a good time. There was a really neat feeling around what happened over the weekend during the throwdown. There was a lot of double ups. There was a lot of, well, we'll get into it in a minute. We definitely want to talk to the guest here in a second. But one of the things that stacked up was just a lot of firsts, a lot of personal best, a lot of really, really good side by side racing.
Indeed. I mean, the racing was great. Also want to mention Kyle says prime location. Indeed. And yeah, dude, the staff at Tulsa is fantastic too. And in our line of work, it sounds kind of pretentious to say that. You see a lot of tracks work, and Tulsa has one of the best staffs. And yeah, let's get back to the Wells family though. Indeed, Tim, we missed you, man. But the Wells family, dude, like it was one of those things where it was already going to be special just because you had this very talented young buck coming up and driving the first big car. That's always fun. That's always special. But then Aaron comes out with one of the tightest pro mod fields we've seen in series history. Then Tyler goes out and wins Top Sportsman, who, by the way, he's taken out Michael Chitty and others along the way.
Daryl Reed.
If you know anything about Top Sportsman racing nationwide, you know some of the names that he eliminated.
Yeah.
And I really cannot state enough how absolutely stoked I am for that family. So why don't we pull on Aaron, who is quietly flexing on us with that background he's got? How about
quietly?
Yeah,
not to point out any obvious, but
I'll ask you a question, the same question that I that you may have answered behind the scenes. How many of those are yours, and how many of those are Tyler's?
We're not going to point out any of the details. Notice the blocks are over there. So honestly, a lot of them are Kinsey's as well. So yeah. We've got a few Eagles for sure, but we've also been doing it since the beginning. So you would expect nothing less with 3 cars. So
absolutely. And you know what? Let's start with Kinsey. Actually, I know this is a little bit of a left turn, but Kinsey is a tremendously talented racer in her own right, and darn right, Shelly and Kurt. I'm gonna assume it's Shelly making that comment. That's my guess. But Kinsey, tremendously talented racer in her own right, and I think in the big story this weekend, it gets kind of lost. Kinsey went to the semis. Kinsey is her own decorated racer, and you got to be proud to get to the semis. Obviously, you'd like to go a few more rounds, but I mean, she had a great weekend herself.
She did, and honestly, she's an excellent racer. Unfortunately, she chooses softball over racing sometimes, and sometimes she has a hard time even making that decision. But we support her in her softball as much as we do in her racing, and so when she is there. That red hair, I don't know what it is. It's kryptonite to some of these other, specifically the boys. I think it gets in their head, but nonetheless, she is definitely she is definitely a good racer as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think they get distracted by that sweet tie-dye.
Yeah.
We're like
Yeah.
looking at it and just, whoa, man, that's true. Oh, crap. Green light. It is indeed Kurt. All right. I've guessed wrong, but good to see you, Kurt. I mean, I asked you this post race, but you've had some time to sit down and really think about it. I know you were on the West Buck show earlier, and that was an awesome interview you did. Just kind of walk us through like how you're feeling, not as a racer, but as a dad, to be parked right there next to your son in the winner's circle.
You know, obviously, I started with my dad racing right out of high school, and so this is what we've done. As a matter of fact, Charity was pregnant with Tyler, just before he was born. And the ironic part of it is right after he was born, we were back at the racetrack. So he was that race car baby that just always came and went, and grew up around it. And so, it was only natural, but we knew he'd do well. He's always been a really good racer in a junior dragster. We really expected that to taper over into a big car. What we didn't expect is success this early. As a matter of fact, I even told him, I said, listen, your first round is really going to be difficult. He is an excellent racer, and you have nothing to be ashamed of if you get beat. We'll roll on and keep racing. But, don't be too disappointed or too hard on yourself, because these kids can definitely be that. And he gets down there and the win light comes on, and it's like, all right, well, first round, that's great. And the second round, same thing. Hey, you've done really well. Just go do your thing, be smart, drive smart, and when it comes out, it comes out. But that went on all the way through to the final round, and just unfortunately in the semifinals, he had a little bit of engine problems. We had a problem with one of the throttle bodies, but nonetheless, he kept his cool. Was smart. I was more impressed by the capability of not getting rattled over something as simple as that. I think he cut a 11 light or something like that.
Wow.
And that's hard to do. And when something goes wrong out of your normal nature or your normal process, it's hard to recollect and get back into it and keep your head cool and control the breathing and everything else to make a good pass. And he did. And I think that, I was more impressed. He could have lost that round, but had a good pass. I would have been just as happy as him winning it. So, with that being said, I was dumbfounded. I think we all were. We owe a lot of credit to a lot of people. There are a lot of people that had a part in all this, starting with my crew guys and my friends. Anybody that knows my family does this, and those guys have become my family. And they work their butts off every single time to keep these cars running. And so for them to be there and enjoy the success as well was pretty cool. So while my dad wasn't there, I know he was one way or the other. And so I would love for him to be able to see that car that we sit down the track so many times together, park it in the winner's circle. But he sees, so that was special.
And one of the things that I thought was really interesting, two things. One, Tyler does the burnout in the semis. Car rolls forward, dies. He backs up, car dies. I'm like, at that moment, you could tell when he went ahead and took the bulbs. I was like, okay, if this car launches, who cares? He's taken the tree, he's let go of the button. It's been great. But then when we were talking about that, and I'm still working on this big video that I have of you guys, right? When we're talking about that in the pits, you said, well, he's got 11 years of racing experience.
Yeah.
That told, like when you said that, I'm like, this kid's 16 years old. He's had those things happen before. He knows how to get his feelings in check and get his anxiety under control. And it was just cool to watch that. Like, I was 5 feet from him as he's going through all of that. You couldn't tell it in his helmet, but I know he had to be in his own head.
Oh, it definitely gets in your head really fast and easy. And even for me, when things go wrong, I have a process, and that's what I stress to him. You got to find that process, and if something goes wrong, you just got to learn how to overcome it. And any racer out there that's ever had a problem in eliminations, that it is, you do sometimes stupid stuff, and he didn't do any of that. And so I think that's a credit to his driving ability. I'm a partial dad, I know that, but he is exceptional. He will be exceptional. I can't wait to see what he can do.
Yeah,
Someday, long from now, in a pro mod, long from now. Tyler, if you're watching, long from now.
Well, I hate to be that guy, but I'm gonna bring up something real quick. First off, we would expect you to be nothing less than a partial dad, right? I mean, come on. But you're a pro mod driver. Pro mods are some of, if not the squirreliest cars out there, right? It's part of the appeal. They're wild. They're out of control. And you said something that when we interviewed Tyler afterwards, it really stuck out at me, which you said, the car control that you had throughout this night was something that not a lot of 16-year-olds, and then you corrected yourself, not a lot of adults have. Just talk a little bit about the maturity, and you have as much experience as anyone at hanging on to a car sometimes. Tell us about what you saw.
Let me be clear. He had an exceptional lineup on the road to the finals with drivers that are exceptional drivers. So I'm not referring to any of those guys, but I am referring to in drag racing as a whole. And I don't mean just in any one particular class. There are drivers out there, we'll all agree, that have no business being behind the wheel of a fast car, let alone a car that's doing this kind of speed. So for me, there is a lot of respect that these kids have to learn, just as adults do, how to respect that power. And if something goes wrong, it's really hard. And I'll be the first to admit, it's really hard to step off and keep your foot off of it, not get right back on it. And you hear some of the greats like, Schumacher or any of the pro teams that they go, and talk about being patient enough to wait for it to stop the tire spin or whatever the case might be. These cars are no different. You've got to be smart. And if he wasn't mature enough, I would never have stuck him in a car this fast. And obviously we've been doing a lot of passes to get him prepped for this, but he has shown in testing, and we've done a lot of testing, that he's able to make good, clean decisions. I would not want to put somebody that I didn't trust behind the wheel, and I trust his driving abilities. And even more so, he's had great guidance. One of our good friends, Travis Cannon, who drove for the first race for him, lined the car out, made sure the car was right, and I value his opinion and his tuning abilities to keep the car and Tyler safe, and he did both of those. And obviously it's been by his guidance as well, as fast, let's speed him up a little bit, the car still's got quite a bit more. We anticipate it to be at some point in time able to run the 420 class, but we're still a little ways from that.
He wasn't far from that, right? He was in the 450s, right? I mean, that's a long ways, but
yeah. The car's been in the 440s with him in it, but yeah, wow. we stay around there, or at least did for this first race. And
yeah, heck yeah.
Kind of found a sweet spot, so I kind of hate to change it, but I know he's going to be going, so how about going faster? He works, listen, he and Travis work together. It's like having two kids in my pit. They're both just, anxious for the car to go faster, and he's doing well. And so he uses Travis against me, and I think he's capable of going faster. Let's speed the car up a little bit. So I got to be I always tell him that burnout was a bit excessive, wasn't it? That kind of, I got to be that dad, and I can hear it come out of my mouth. I'm like, shh, I just said it. I didn't mean to say it. I couldn't stop it, but it come rolling out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't envy you at all.
Yeah, everybody knows the best part of a pass is the burnout.
Oh yeah. we in the back, when we're doing production, we're like, all right, we got to see people get the burnout, the go, and the finish. Everything in between, we could sprinkle it, but the burnout, the go, and the finish.
Yeah.
I want to Joshua Vettel, their pro mod driver himself, great guy, says if they don't scare you, then you don't belong in one. And that is
absolutely, I'd agree with that.
A+. I remember, just as an aside, I remember Keith one time said something. He said, this is a couple of years back. He goes, there ain't a time where I'm sitting in that thing that I don't at least briefly have the thought of how dangerous this is. He goes, but you have to, that comes with respect of the car and the knowledge that, like, I have processes, we got to solve this, but he goes, we're aware,
Yeah. It can get away from you really quick. And unfortunately, any new driver needs to understand how fast it can get away from you. Once it gets away from you, how to respond. And again, I think just in control of the car the whole time, when it's doing its silliness of dying and getting it started back up and moving and then not losing your cool. If something were to happen, a parachute not come out or something like that, all that's preparation for going faster. And so, important and very important parts.
And let's shift a little bit from proud dad mode to proud Aaron mode.
Yeah.
You had the night of all nights as well. I mean, you took out some heavy hitters yourself.
It was really nice to see Robert Costa back. The whole lineup was pretty cool. Stouffer and that team, the Palmer team and all, how cool is that they're back? I guess I would say we struggled. We did some testing, trying to change some stuff up. Nothing wrong with any of the parts or pieces. It just, we got a little lost in trying to outsmart the track and also make a car fast. Mark Mickey proved you can't be a 70 car and win. You can't even be a high 60 car and win. You have to be on kill. And so we've been doing extra hard work at trying to make the car faster and better itself, even in testing. And so got a little lost. And Darren is extremely smart, one of the smartest guys I know, Darren Mayer. But the cool thing is, well, I ought to preface this a little bit. He and I have become good friends. And so I can talk bad crap about him and I don't really care because he's going to laugh about it. But he got lost. He'll be the first to admit he's one, though, that is not too proud. And when he got lost, he said, this has thrown me for a little bit of loop, but I know exactly who to call and he'll help me get back on my feet. And boy, did he. Mark Savage, he talks to a bunch of different good racers that really help kind of pull it back together, give him some thoughts and some ideas. And man, then when it went, nobody was more surprised than I was when I looked up at the scoreboard as I whizzed by. But, for it to come alive and then get our feet underneath us and then it was on from there. It's a cool feeling because you when you're lost and the car looks like crap and nothing's going right and everybody's kind of getting frustrated. I mean, listen, these guys worked their butts off. We had the converter in and out 3 different times. We had the transmission out because it wouldn't shift one time, which was, obviously no big deal. The pan was off of it 3 or 4 times, checking bearings just to make sure everything's good on a new motor. I mean, they earned it. They earned it. I didn't. I was a lucky guy that got to be sitting in the driver's seat, but they definitely worked their butts off enough to get it. So
Jacob saying it went away fast that final round. I'm imagine him saying you driving out of his life.
Yeah. I gotta say too, it was nice to see Scott Palmer, John Stouffer's CUDA, back in the finals as well too, man. The lineup, you got Bullet, as it's now christened, right next to the orange CUDA. I was like, man, this is a nice looking lineup here for the finals. You lined up next to Jacob McNeil, and he's a very accomplished driver in his own right. And I know you guys, I ask you guys this occasionally, but like do you look across and go, all right, I mean, Jacob McNeil, he knows what he's doing, man. This is a guy over here who's a very accomplished driver in his own right.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, at this race, there wasn't a single round. I mean, Ron is a exceptional. Mm-hmm. Jeff, I was waiting for something drastic to happen with Ron's car. I was expecting them to go really fast. And so it was, and they were quick, don't get me wrong, but all of them, you just never know when to expect it. Just like what happened with me, when it goes right, all of a sudden you've got something to work off of, and it goes really right. It can go really right. And that team over there, especially with Jacob being a great driver, that they have the potential to be one of the front runners at any given minute, and that could have been in the final round. Look at Chris Russo, race him in the final down in Texas, and he runs a 60 1 or something like that. I mean, and that was the fastest he had been all weekend. But what a great time to pull that out and use that in your arsenal in the final round. Much like you just said, he went away really fast. So, but you just never know what to expect out of him. You got to be prepared at any given time. So
I think one of the things that stood out to me, and you mentioned Ron was fast. He's Ron Minix. We all know he's fast all the time. But this was, to borrow a music term, all killer, no filler, this lineup at the Throwdown, right? We had 17 cars in a 16 car field. So usually any given weekend you have maybe one or two cars that's just like, they're not feeling it this week, right? Like something's throwing gremlins. They can't get it to run in the 3-second range even. The bump was actually quick enough this weekend. I'm scratching my head as to remember what it was, but I think it was in like 380.80, right? And I'm like, every one of these guys is capable of throwing up a number. Oh, what bad timing. But I was going to say, every one of these guys is capable of throwing up a number. And so for you to beat a field that strong, Ron, Jacob, but just to be in the mix has to feel a little special too. It's not like you went to some podunk track with a couple local guys,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's pretty cool. I don't want to give him this much credit, especially if he haven't been. There's some guys that every time I race, even now, it's like I feel like it's kind of like I was that kid standing on the fence back in the old ADRL days watching Frankie Taylor, and he's a prime example. Because every time I am at a race with him, I think, man, I remember seeing Paul jump in, and the car was sitting, the next pair up, and he's making changes to the clutch. I mean, I thought that is so cool. They are the epitome of drag racing. They're just one of many, though. I mean, so when you start talking about racing against some of those guys, I remember Ron and being the first converter guy in the threes, and how cool that was. And so when you start talking about anybody except for Keith, I always think, man, how cool is it to be lined up next? No, I'm just kidding, Keith. I'm just kidding, Keith. But how cool is it? Some of these guys were, what I saw as legends. So now some of them might be tuners, or some of them might be, crew guys, or might be, just there. But I mean, doing what we're doing, like they did when I was the kid on the fence. I mean, that's cool. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah. I remember Sandman, Tony Williams at one point was somebody explained to me kind of the legend, because I mean, I as an announcer have been in drag racing a lot shorter time than many of you guys. And so, I've read my history, you know, but I remember sitting down with somebody and they explained to me like Sandman. And I was like, oh my gosh, like here's this guy that like I know, but like it's clicking like what a legend he is, right? Too, in the same way that Frankie is. Also, good to see you, Jay. NC Pro Modder says, see you guys at Shakedown. So good to see you, man. And we will indeed. Can't wait. Speaking of Keith, cool moment this week. And I think as a dad, you have to give Keith this one little bit of credit. He took a round win, hopped on a plane, flew and saw his daughter Madison's graduation, and he gave a second round bye to, you know, whoever ended up in that spot. But he kind of just said, nope, I got to go be a dad. Was funny during the opening ceremonies watching him be like, gotta go, let's go.
Yeah.
I will say this. There's a lot of good racers that are no more, that are, there's nobody more competitive than Keith. I will be the first to admit that. And, you know, for him to make those decisions and put family first, Todd does that all the time as well. You know, whatever, you know, their kids got going on or whatnot, to put them first. That's a hard decision to do. You know, and unfortunately I've missed races because we had something going on with the kids, and those are really tough. I can't hardly watch the race highlights because it just eats me alive that I'm not there and I should be. But, you know, those are important, and a lot of respect for Keith, even outside of being a dad, but also as a racer and competitor, making those decisions, especially when I know he wants to add to that number on the side of his trailer. Call the vinyl shop, cancel it, because that's not going on your trailer.
Hey, Narks, clip that right there, that part where he says, I have a lot of respect for Keith, just so we can keep airing that during.
Yeah. The one thing that's
I'm hoping Keith isn't watching, so.
He hadn't made any comments, which doesn't seem like him at all. So I'm sure
he would have said something at this point.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to, you know, pick your brain on that, because, like, you know, there are things that are bigger than racing. It eats all of us. I mean, I'm not a driver, right? So like I don't know that competitive brain side of me, but I remember what was it, 3-4 weeks ago, a month ago at this point, I guess, sitting in Tokyo. I was at the airport and I'm watching the race in Texas on my phone, which I'm also like, man, I've been watching from quite a ways away. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I was at that. Gosh, I'd love to be there. I'm halfway across the globe, man. Enjoy it. But man, I really.
Yeah. It's tough, isn't it? I don't make a good spectator. I don't. When it comes to racing, it makes it. I'm probably the norm. I don't know. You know, yeah. I think everybody has a hard time when you're supposed to be there. You know, it's hard not to be. But
that is one of the hardest parts of my job, doing the social media promoting side of Tulsa Raceway Park and Tulsa Speedway, is you drag racers are not good spectators. You're coming unless you're racing, you know. Now, if you're there and you're out, you're generally in the stands, or you're talking to somebody or something like that. But yeah, folks stay at home. And that's what's great about the live stream stuff. And that's why these kind of interviews and things like that are so important for us to be able to tell those stories, you know, to those folks that didn't come and then kick themselves. And then now they're going to, if their car's not ready for October for the Throwdown, the Ronnie Hobbs World Finals, you know, they're going to be there.
You got to come. You got to come.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. To the extent of not being a good spectator, I get anxiety when I go up to the starting line. I've been trying to do more of it because, like, when the cars leave or they get out of shape, I'm like, that guy's crazy. Well, a lot of times I'm in that car and I'm the one that's crazy. You know what I mean? But, you know, it's a different perspective, not being in control, just like riding with my 16-year-old driver. You know, I'm not in control, and it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. But, you know, it just I get anxious. I get fidgety. I can't it's wild. It really is wild.
You're up there like cutting lights,
I should be. If you saw my lights this weekend, I should be. I think 4 cars may have done me in. I couldn't seem to catch a good light to save my life. But
Yeah,
I have to ask you this. You mentioned 16-year-old driver. I gotta ask this question of you. You got a 16-year-old driver. I'm sure as a dad, that is a whole adventure. Is it better or worse knowing that he can handle a drag race, like a top sportsman car as well as he can?
So Travis said it best. He goes, the downside is that he's going to do it in a passenger vehicle. That's the way we all learn. We get out there in the parking lots and do stupid stuff on the ice and drive like a fool or whatever else. And our parents always say don't do it, but we do it anyway. But that's the way we get the feel for the seat and really what the car wants or needs, or when it's drifting or whatever else. We all did it, kind of deal. He didn't get that, at least not that I'm aware of quite yet. But those are critical things that he's learning in a race car. That hopefully it'll go in reverse and it'll maybe make him a better driver when it comes wintertime. But it is pretty wild to think about how fast he really is going in a big car, and how long it took for me to get to the speeds that he's going. I was not 16 years old by any means, but I think that just is, again, that's a representation of what kind of driver he really is. And man, I'm telling you what, he's not going to be able to walk down the hall of the house here if he's watching all this. But
I'm picturing you in the passenger seat doing the classic, like dad stomping on the brake pedal that isn't there, and you being like, and he'd be like, "Dad, you taught me how to go fast. You didn't tell me how to slow down." All right.
I drive like this all the time just to give him a hard time, because it's like turns green and it's like, heads back against the headrest, and then if he tries to go real slow, just to kind of compensate because he knows I'm getting pissy about it, then, I'm like, we gonna go or are we just gonna sit here all day? So
you got to do the classic dad thing of no matter what it is, you're gonna rip them for it. You just got to find what you're gonna rip them for next.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, it just come out of my mouth when I said I was a little excessive of a burnout there, wasn't it? And I couldn't stop it. I knew it was coming, and it just rolled out there on the table, and there's no taking it back.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about Shakedown real quick with you guys. Yeah. Are you bringing both cars?
We are. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to fly in, but the guys are. Matter of fact, we should be working on the race car right now, but Tyler's finishing up one more final tomorrow, and then we're going to be back hard at it. But nonetheless, both cars will be ready, and we'll both be there, ready to continue on.
It caused my brain like a little shift gear without a clutch kind of idea right there to think about him in school taking a finals, but
yeah,
because I know him at the track. Obviously Shakedown's there. Are you gonna both run the rest of the season together?
That's the plan. I don't think there's much doubt that even to the extent that really when we asked Travis to drive the car, a lot of it was, obviously the car was ready, and so it was a good opportunity, for Travis to make sure the car was really going straight while we were doing some testing. And then when we got the car, and we were, basically already there anyway, might as well race the race, right? Mm-hmm. Enter the car. And on top of that, it was, if Tyler's going to be at every race, we might as well enter him in the points and plan mm-hmm. on that being the case. So the goal was really just to participate this year, but he had other plans. That was my plan. His plan was obviously to go and win. So, and now why not just win all the races instead? So there you go. Anybody that says, and this is my biggest pet peeve, anybody that says you can't win them all, it's got the wrong mentality. You go and you try to win every single one, every single time, and you're going to become a winner one way or the other. Now, the statistics are true that the probability of you winning every single one is not great, but damn, I show up and we're on, keel to win all of them. So,
hey, you know what? Hey, Callie.
Another good driver.
Hey, there's another driver telling you that you did a great job. There you go. Callie's, of course, a beast of a driver herself. Yeah, I was gonna say anybody who says he can't win them all has never seen Rod Moore in a lot of our top sportsman races. Ain't that true?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So we're super excited for you to go there, and I think my one last question is looking forward. This is going to be a talk about your opponents question. Is if you had to choose one guy in Pro Mod, and I kind of want to ask this of all of our guests throughout the year. If you had to choose one guy in Pro Mod, and give me a non-obvious answer. So I'm ruling out, Ron. I'm going to rule out Keith. All right. Give me somebody you think is going to get their first win this year.
Get their first win of the series, or this this year? Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She just logged on.
Callie's going to get her first win.
Callie's going to get her first win.
All right.
And unfortunately, I think that it's going to happen too soon. No offense, but I'd like to still win them all. So if I can't, I guess it would be cool to see her win her first. But yeah, I absolutely think that's going to happen. Too good a racer,
super fast,
not to win.
Yeah, she's a tremendous racer. Well, Aaron, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Man, that was a tough question. You should have warned me of that.
Didn't even give him any
I pulled that one out of my ear.
There's another one. Keith Goolsby. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's actually, I was thinking of Goolsby because I was kind of going on like, okay, what are our next little bullet points we want to hit? Goolsby's P3 in the point standings right now, sitting third. Yeah. And that was one of those things. I'm like, oh man, he is getting deeper and deeper. And so that was my mind. And I'm like, you know what? I want to know who Aaron thinks is going to get their win. Maybe their underdog, their dark horse, if you will. So Callie Mills, I'd like that. I like that a lot. I think she does. I'm with you. I think Callie.
Listen,
and Keith
I can't just say. I just can't say her because Costa is another one. I really think you better be watching for.
Yeah. Well, Costa put up some great numbers in the slammers. He put up numbers that would have made him rounds in the main, in the main Pro Mod class.
Absolutely. Lots of good racers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ultraman, who's saying Goolsby is due.
Oh yeah, he is. He'll get it. He probably would have had one last year at some point if he didn't throw rods in back-to-back races. That is the worst luck, I swear. But you know what, Aaron? I do thank you so much for coming on. We really do appreciate it. And
thank you guys.
Thank you. And hey, man, we're gonna see you in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it seems like it's just around the corner. Listen, right? I do need to tell you guys, we really appreciate all the live streaming, obviously, and the lot of memories and captured pictures to all the photographers. The drone footage. All of those are really just awesome, and we really appreciate, as a racer, as a dad, really appreciate all that because unfortunately, I'm the last to pull my phone out and video anything. And
I know I was trying to steal photos for your thumbnail today, but there's none.
It really is just y'all are definitely very much appreciated. I'm probably under acknowledged, and so just wanted you guys to know, appreciate it, and obviously looking forward to many more of the Winter Circle pictures and videos. Anyway, so nonetheless, wanted you guys to know that.
Well,
I
thank you very
appreciate
much.
that, man.
Yep,
so much.
All right, Aaron, we're kicking you off here, buddy. Thank you so much. We'll see you in a couple days, man. Like 10, 12 days, something like that.
Be here before we know it.
I know,
crazy.
right?
All right. See you soon. Tell Tyler we said hey. And the whole family. Tell everybody we said hey.
All right. Will do. See you.
Oh, man. You're talking right around the corner. I was telling you before the show, man. I got I'm doing my my annual trip to the Indy 500 this coming weekend. IndyCar, I wouldn't say is my greatest love, but it was my first motorsports love. And this is, I think, year 11 or 12 of the Indy 500. So and then we got that race. I got a BIR race, and then I think up in Brainerd. The North Star Speed Summit, I believe, is the weekend after Shakedown. And then if I'm not mistaken, it's one additional BIR race, and then we're back at it in Kansas City. It's going to come up pretty soon here. And I do want to say too, Richard Brewer, Dirty Panda, follow him anywhere. I mean, like TikTok, or not TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. He does all of the drone footage. He is our roamer. He gets the most badass shots, and I do not say that lightly. And it is. I mean, Narks, you and I, we are not in this business to get rich. If we are, we're pretty silly, because this is not the business to get rich in. We are in it because we love racers. We love making those memories happen. And a large part too is that we just love being around race cars, and we love watching it. And so being able to be that almost like servant to making the show happen is just what gets us going.
Well, and a lot of times I've told people this for a long time. The biggest benefit to grabbing your camera and taking pictures and photos and videos and stuff is that you'll have that forever, especially if you post it on, YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever, it's going to be there. It's going to be around. And so, especially YouTube. And so we started in 2016 documenting the builds that I was doing in the shop. We've, now grown. My brother has his own shop and is expanded, and, and now I do all of this. So it's been amazing, man. It's really been a huge part of my life, is to grab that camera and put it in somebody's face and ask them awkward questions.
It's funny. Sometimes it is awkward. And let's talk about some things that weren't awkward. Like first off, I missed this bullet point while Aaron was on, but I do want to highlight standing ovation from the Tulsa crowd. They stood up at that win. They knew how special that was. That was really neat. Top dragster Keith Youngblood takes the win, and it was awesome to see that. And also want to highlight Katie Laughter getting her first Eagle. And what a weekend for the Pennington crew, man.
Oh, huge. So we were joking with Aaron before the show that like 3 families basically won all of the classes. So you had, the Wells family, obviously 2 classes. You had the Penningtons, who took home, both junior classes, and then top dragster. And then Katie was in the finals for her best finish of the year. She ran personal bests all weekend as well. And then you had, and then JNA service, same thing, 2 classes for that. They won Slammer, Pro Mod Slammers, and the funny car class. It's just wild, man. It's wild.
It was awesome, wasn't it? I also want to highlight, I think I hit it earlier, but if I didn't, Ray Martin in that JNA service Pro Mod. I almost said, funny car, but I'm used to saying the JNA service funny car in that JNA service Pro Mod, formerly a runner-up with Stephen Whiteley. Ray Martin threw down, I think, a 361 and a 6 in the Slammers. Wow. I'd have to double check, but it was a low 360s pass. That was like legitimately one of the most competitive Pro Mod. Some of the most competitive Pro Mod passes were in the Slammers. And sometimes that doesn't work in races. Sometimes you get a race where you're just like, dude, these guys didn't even make the show and they're running, or these guys are already out of the show and they're running that. Because remember, if you lose in the second round or the semis, you're not in Slammers, right? So like,
it's first round losers or non-qualifiers.
And you're running in the 60s, my man. Goodness gracious.
Well, and one thing
how
that's
strong that field is.
Yeah, one thing's interesting too is like Ray's a funny car driver, right? So like, like his history is in funny car, and then to jump over in a Pro Mod, I think this was one of his first weekends to ever be in a Pro Mod. If I was hearing some of the not comments, but some of the things I was reading online. So this would be awesome. We had a lot of folks. Jacob and Neil's his first time to race at Midwest. Just a lot of new folks within Pro Mod, a lot of new folks within all the other classes as well.
Yeah. And I mentioned last I checked, you raised 9th in funny car points in the Lucas Oil series.
Wow.
I'd have to see if it's updated since then. I don't have it offhand, but he is a funny car driver. Holds 12 NHRA licenses though. So I mean, that's
awesome. He can.
If you have
He's a
12
wheelman.
licenses, you can. Pro mods are tough, but if you got 12, you're a talented guy.
Yeah.
I want to highlight also Jim Whiteley was the fastest car on property. We mentioned the J&A crew. Man, the 3608, the funny cars were the fastest on property
Goddamn.
this time.
It was awesome.
That was badass. And can I say something too? That was intriguing to me. The times were stout, they were bunched, and usually when they're bunched like that, it's a sign that everyone is tuning to the best of their ability, right? It's one thing if like Jeff Pierce finds a tune in a setup that nobody else is on, right? If everybody's running that tight, it tells you that like this is almost the maximum that our rule set is going to allow in these conditions. It was a beautiful evening, but the DA never dropped below, I think like 1500 or something like
Yep.
that. I'm like, man, it's a little high for as cool and as crisp as the air was, but man, they found their tune. Brandon Snyder and his guys are indeed BA. Dave Pierce, another BA double 05 reaction time, continuing his dominance
in the finals, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Crazy.
In that absolute beauty. Yeah, it is good to see Dave, who, by the way, grabbed his big, gigantic Pro 420 trophy. And so he has organized that class kind of like, I don't say all on his own, but he is the man, right? Thanks, Mike. You are awesome, Mike. And so too is Richard for saying Russo is going to be one to watch out for too. He's totally right. Dave organized that class. And so he, I believe, got the trophies ordered, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where I heard that. I could be totally wrong. But basically what I'm trying to get at is the Pro 420 trophies like this freaking tall, man. So he got this massive trophy.
Yeah.
It's like twice as big as the Eagle.
Yeah.
And he got a trophy for his 005 light and win. Like to also send a thank you to Jessica Ogden and James Ogden for coming on up in that interview. That was great to see as well. Caden Duell and Jason Duell for coming up and talking to us. Kenji Wells advanced 2 rounds. We mentioned Junior Dragster, the Pennington sweep. And I also want to highlight No Time 28. Lance Knigge and the King took the win. That being said, Roy Allen with the save. Whew.
Dude, insane. The hayseed Camaro really took a ride there. It was pretty wild, but he saved it, man. Exited rods and pistons both sides of the block.
Just
as in a pass. So
as a friend of mine said, there's 2 new windows in that.
Yeah. One thing that's cool about this is it really was, we tried to do a No Time 28 class last year. We probably didn't give those racers enough time. And I really, to be honest, and Keith's going to kick me for saying this, but we really didn't give them enough time this time either. We about 10 days before, we really kind of came into what was going to be, hey, we're going to allow this class. And this is something we're looking at for Midwest. This is probably more information everybody needs to know right now, but we are looking at it. I think this class could really help grow a lot of the, these are cars that can go mid 4s on the right track. And a lot of times those cars, we're looking forward, we're trying to think, can we bring in a No Time 28? Can that car move up to Pro 420? Can that car then go into Pro Mod? Or will that racer want to do that, build a new car, whatever. But this No Time 28 class, dude, it was fun to watch.
It was legit, man. And, we mentioned the hayseed Camaro got loose. The final between Knigge and I'm blanking on the guy in the left-hand lane.
The white Nova.
Yeah, the white Nova that hit the front of the wall, which I have to say, heartbroken to see a broken car. That being said, not nearly as broken as I thought upon first impact. That thing took that wall hit like a champ, and Knigge drove right through it. It was awesome to see. But I would love to see the No Time 28, and just want to highlight too, and this applies to Pro 420 as well. And I mean, every class really, but especially Pro 420 is one of our newer classes, and No Time 28 as something that we're looking at in the future. If you have a car that's eligible for that, the best thing that you could do to get that class to continue to be a full-time class with us, come on, there we go. Is just show up to the races. I know that's like, well, it's easy to say, but when you do a class and you get like 4 cars, you're kind of like, Pro 420 is a great example. We had a few cars, we let it have time to build, and now we have a pretty decent field, and that field is going to be growing, as I understand it, soon here too, is because you see more guys coming, and that's how you get to be a class, to be a part of Midwest, is because we do it for you, and we got to get kind of a feel. So if you got a no time 28 car, man, come on over to one of our events. It's what I'm getting at.
Well, bring it out. But then also, we almost need an ambassador for that class, like we have with Dave Pierce. I mean, he truly is an ambassador for Pro 420. Like, that's his baby. He loves that class. And so, as a class grows, you have to have somebody out there that's just pounding the pavement, getting those cars.
Because the people for our other classes, I'll use Ellen as an example. If I'm not mistaken, part of the reason Dave Pierce is so involved in that class is because Ellen was kind of like, I would love it, but I'm corralling other things right now.
Yeah.
Dave, can you help me out with this? And Dave said yes, and he has owned that class, both figuratively, and he's the reigning champ. So, big kid on the block. He's got the target on his back because he's BA. And so, I mean, it's totally right? Show up, show out, and look, man, even if you got a car that you don't think is going to be all that competitive, run it. You never know when you're going to get a red light. You never know when the hayseed Camaro is going to drop oil on its own back tires, and you're going to get a round win. I mean, we saw Tina Pierce last year racing Pro Mod with the top sportsman car. So, I just, show up, be there. And that is not only how you grow the class in Midwest, but also, when a class is in Midwest, it encourages other guys sometimes to go, hey, hold on, maybe I want to run a no time 28 car next year. You get more competition for yourself. So now you're not the only car in your region that is a no time 28. Not that those are extremely rare cars, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, and one thing that is a point that I want to make for moving forward with this Midwest Mondays episodes we are looking for someone that can be an ambassador for Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, the juniors classes, things like that. We want to have someone that knows those in and out stories.
Absolutely.
We need those kind of contacts and those kind of racers. Jeremy Maples comes to mind with the Top Sportsman, and now Top Dragster, and also Top Sportsman. We need to know those stories to be able to tell those outwardly. It's hard to keep up with 70. I'm going to say basically full series racers, and
very hard
make through with all the extra stuff that we all have going on. So, if you are interested in doing that, reach out to me, reach out to Luke, tell us, hey, look, I'd like to come on for 15, 20 minutes each episode and talk about the racers within that class.
Absolutely. Here's the deal too, is on my Facebook page, that's about Dave P. Well, I think, that's about Dave Pierce, who is BA and his son, I believe.
Yeah.
Both of them. Yes. But my Facebook page and Narc's Facebook page are always open. I accept all friend requests that aren't spam. If I vaguely recognize your face, or I see your car, or I can see you're a racer, man, I accept. Shoot me a Facebook message. If that's not your game, you know how to reach Ellen. Everybody knows how to reach Ellen. Reach Ellen. She has my phone number. I don't want to say it right now because this is a live broadcast and we know how that is.
Yeah, her Ellen will 281-330-8004.
Thanks, Narcs. That's not it. Although I think you said 281, which is not far from the area code I currently live in.
Yeah, 330-8004.
But reach out to Ellen. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, do you have Luke's number? Shoot me a message. I keep, and I know Narcs, you reference this sometimes too. I mean, a document that is sometimes 17, 18 pages long, and it's all just relevant information on our guys. And that's how I know how to thank your sponsors. And I will not know how to thank your sponsors and how to thank your crew chiefs, because there's so many people. If I don't get to interact with you, and we just cannot interact with everybody in a given weekend because of time constraints. Also, want to shoot out one minor apology, and I think I made this in person to a couple people. If I did not announce your name this last weekend, I was flying blind. I did not have an announcer screen. Hopefully, I did not butcher any names, and hopefully nobody was sitting there be like, he never said my name.
Well, and that was one thing that we did struggle with at Tulsa
Yep.
for the local classes, and
Yep.
to react to them. Our plan moving forward for local classes for the Ronnie Hobbs finals, I've already talked to Keith and Jimmy both requesting a local announcer, somebody that knows the racers, knows those guys, because to be quite honest, when those racers came up. You had no idea. Luke had no idea. Didn't know names, didn't know cars, didn't know anything like that. So it became very difficult, but
Well,
did what you could.
and also too, and you will see this NHRA, PDRA, any series, your voice blows out after a
Mhm.
certain amount when you announce. And so while I certainly sit there and I'll watch our guys, I'm trying to save my voice too. And so I think there's such a great opportunity for those local announcers to come in, announce their guys. They're on the broadcast. They're getting the love and respect they deserve. While I can, take a sip of water, heal my voice, go, did I miss a text, and then get back to it. But so apologize if I didn't understand. I'm not trying to get at you, but no, dude, I love our local classes, especially, our guys in Tulsa, the old school back half down in Dallas, the Great Lakes Gassers up in Michigan that we will see later on this year. It's good stuff, man. And before we wrap up, want to give a shout out to the Dothit family who lit up some jet cars too, and also Red's drag racing photos as well.
Yeah, all of I'll give a shout out to all the photographers. We had like 9 photographers on site. The jet car photos, primo stuff. There's more than like 800 or 900 photos that are going to be on Tulsa Raceway Park's page that will have photos from the throwdown of the weekend. Big shout out to Red. He just rocked it this weekend. Lots of photos. He's a longtime photographer at Tulsa. Great dude. Charles was out there. Kyle Merriman, who was making comments here earlier. JD was out there taking photos. It was just awesome. I know I'm forgetting 1 or 2 folks that were there. Kyle Christ, big shout out to him for coming with Midwest and doing videos when I wasn't available. So there's a lot of changes that'll be made over the season to help get more stuff out there, right? To help be more available. So I wanted to run through a couple photos. I did grab a big shout out to Jeremy Maples, Double Duty. That may be my new nickname for him. I don't know, but he was racing Top Sportsman and Top Dragster this weekend.
I like calling him Double Duty Maples. I like
it. Right. Multiple Maples or something like that. I don't know. We're gonna come up with something fun. Great job. This car is going to be a force to be reckoned with in Top Sportsman. Brand new, went out there and just crushed it. Rod Moore, man, I don't know. Those guys, 3-time three-peat champion, really just has dominated Top Sportsman for the last 3 years and has struggled a little bit this year. So
I was going to say, I'm going to say something not popular for Rod and then not popular for everyone else. Hey, what's up, Brian? Red is indeed awesome. Man, Rod doesn't look like Rod to start the first 2 weeks. That being said, he is still Rod Moore. And so if I had to put chips on someone, I'm not going to bet against Tyler Wells, but I'm also would never in my life bet against Rod Moore. If there's one guy who could take 2 weeks of just redlining in one round, it is the whiskey barrel,
Well, and listen, at the level that he's racing Top Sportsman, there's not many folks I wouldn't put my name on. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty awesome. And I'll tell you, after that, after 2 round 1 losses, those guys are looking at everything hard. They're trying to figure out what it is. And, a red light by, I think it was like 008 or something like that, right?
Something along those lines.
018 or something crazy close. These guys are looking hard. They're looking at it very, very hard. Another interesting situation here. Jordan Epperjesse, she out round one of Throwdown in T-Town 2. This is your reigning champion in top dragster here coming out, and I don't think she went. I think she went round 2 last week at XRP.
I think it was round 2. Yeah.
Yep. So pretty interesting stuff there. She was saying when we were cars were lining up, she's like, it's hard for me to stand here. She's like, I think we were going into round 3. She's like, it's the worst feeling in the world to go out in round 1. She's like, it sucks.
I can't imagine. I will say, we have seen the top and top classes, our bracket classes, as they were, suffer periods of, we'll call it like stagnation, right? Where it's rod more. That being said, I forgot that I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I need to wire my thing in. Anyway, I do think that they do have the propensity to just be nastily topsy-turvy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those bracket classes, you're playing with such fine margins, and it's not like you can just, this is no discredit to Mark Mickey whatsoever, but it's not like you can run out with a Mark Mickey's car and just have the fastest car on the planet. Do you know what I'm saying?
So you can't go faster than what you have dialed.
Right. And so I think that, they tend to bite both ways. If you're Rod Moore and you can just run that number consistently, that's great. But you're just playing with such fine margins that I think you see a lot of topsy-turviness. So it'll be interesting to see if Jordan Epperjesse can turn things around. I have the utmost faith that she can. I mean, she did just get her massive ring on, well, I guess she would wear it on this hand. She did just get that on Thursday night. So she has a proven history.
Yeah, she's back and in charge. I'm excited to see them show up again. You'll be watching at the Shakedown, which we haven't really talked about much. We're going to in a minute, but we're going to have Pro Mod and we're going to have Top Dragster and Top Sportsman, and it is a points race, so it's important to be there. Let's move through Josh Vettel. Big shout out to him bringing the car. Yeah. It's super cool having 2 of these cars here on site. See him back in this and racing with the Midwest Drag Race Series.
Absolutely. It's dude, we had CUDA on CUDA action.
It was pretty cool.
I think both NC Pro Modder and Stefan were like, oh, is that 2 CUDAs?
Yeah.
It was like, yes.
Yep, and then
you don't see that often. Not in Pro Mod.
Yeah, and then Stouffer's still, I think, holds the quickest CUDA standings there for sure because it came out on top.
Very well may.
Mike Randall's saying that's a sweet ride. It really is a cool car.
It's bad to the bone, dude.
Yeah. Bob Glenn come up from Florida.
Oh my gosh, dude, Bob Glenn was like your number 3 qualifier.
Yep.
He had a run and a half, man. It was great to see him come up from Florida. I am excited for what he could do because he came out and he's just like, look at this. 3rd place qualifier.
Yeah, right. Ran it down first time in this kind of, I'm sure he's been in this kind of air before, but first time being at Tulsa to go and be number 3 qualifier, pretty badass. And I think he did it in round 1 of qualifying.
I think he did too. And I'll tell you too, this is not a knock against Tulsa. Tulsa is not an easy track sometimes to find your tune at. That swampy, soupy air sometimes. We didn't get it as bad this weekend, but it can be nasty sometimes. Luckily, it's a tremendous surface.
Right. And then Robert Davis come up from Florida. It was great to have him as a new racer here as well. See Mike Randall saying Bob Glenn is a threat at every race, and that is for sure. Robert Davis, same thing.
Same thing.
Todd Martin, dude, put it down. 360s in his 7th or 8th pass on the car.
He had 3 passes in that car prior to round 1 of qualifying, one of which he wrecked the car so bad that it took the better part of a year to get fixed.
Yeah. And so, we go into Q1 and it's his 4th pass ever in the car and qualified for the field. I think he was qualified top half, ended up in the 360s by the end of eliminations. It was great to see him out in that car. I'll tell you this, that car is one of the hardest cars to find photographs of, but now we fix that with Red and Damon at E3 Extreme and Charles and all the teams that were out there this weekend. Again, appreciate the photographers that were on site.
If you want to see pictures of any Midwest
Oh yeah.
race in the past, by the way. E3 Extreme is where you go. You pick a race. Damon has been there.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Oh, and how about this? John Stouffer's Todd Martin is going to hurt some feelings, man. When you roll out with a new car, sometimes there's a little bit of like a feeler out period. Todd Martin threw that out the window, and he's like,
Yeah.
watch this. Stouffer's Hemi, the Cuda. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite cars for sure. And to have Jacob McNeil come in, driving it this weekend, and take it to the finals, dude, come on. It was awesome.
Come on. Beautiful.
And then, hey, story, one of the greatest stories of the weekend, Jessica Ogden out here.
And James looks a little
down.
different in that helmet, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So okay, can I tell you a small story real quick? We interviewed Jessica Ogden as part of our broadcast on Saturday. And I felt a little bad because I'm like, hey, can you guys come up a little later? Probably like after round 1. And they ended up coming up right at the start of round 2. And I'm like, of pro mod eliminations. I'm like, I don't want to, like, I really want to interview you, but like pro mod eliminations are right now. So like we have to direct the show right now. Right. And so I was like, hold on. Dude, the worst times. And so I go, hang on. And so we get through, I think, top and top. And I tell Nolan Ryan, who did a tremendous job this weekend, I'm like, hey, can you guys set up the lights and whatnot? And they're like, yeah, no problem. And I like go to take a leak. I'll be honest with you. Man's got to use the bathroom, right? And I come back and Noel goes, Luke, I spilled some water. Was that your water that I spilled in your chair? And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And I sit down and I just have a like wet butt the entire time. And I'm like, now I'm gonna. And so like before the interviews, I'm like, now I'm gonna get up. And I'm like, Jessica's right here. She's gonna be like, did you sweat through your pants? You know, I got swamp butt. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Is that gonna be a problem? I'm like, gosh, why do we hire you guys?
Man, they did the incredible. Hey, 19 hours of live stream. Those two kids ran it.
Yeah,
they're young adults.
And keep in mind too, like these kids are learning as they go. They're fresh out of high school, man, and they're doing this. It's awesome, and they're very hard workers. They're very, very kind, very loyal. They're great to work with. But Noel, if you're watching this, man, really, if you're watching a replay of that interview, I'm shifting around because I have a wet butt.
That's funny. Yeah, and it was a great one. Jessica did a great job. I look forward to them coming up more often, telling stories about that. And her being in the driver's seat's pretty cool. This car's fast, the top runner in Pro 420.
And like she has experience. That is a car that can run numbers. She had a bit of a rough weekend this weekend, but she'll
418s.
She'll figure it out. That is a car that does tend to run fast. I find that is a car that tends to run a little quicker than 420.
When you're running at 420, and that's as fast as you can go, it's tough. And especially, she's lighter than James, so that doesn't help. So now you're turning it down even more, and they're probably in less power than what they're used to being in. All right, let's move on because I got to go here pretty quick. So Tyler, obviously, big shout out to him. Just rocked it this weekend, man. Rocked it this weekend. Proud to say that we were around when something like that went down. And then again, Katie Laughter, man, she just killed it. Personal bests all weekend. Twin turbo,
LS engine,
5.3 in that thing with the power glide. Like it works, man. It works.
It's beauty. I told her just on Facebook, I'm like, I had my eye on you to get an Eagle since I first saw you make runs in Kansas City, and so glad she finally got one. Next time it's going to be a Winter Eagle.
Oh yeah,
she'll get one real soon.
And then last shot here, just a big shout out to all the fans that came out. More than 16,000 fans out for the weekend. More than 100,000 views of live streaming video. We appreciate everybody that commented, that shared, that talked. I really think at one point we had 870 comments on one live stream.
It's insane, isn't it? And it's great too as an announcer, man. We had people watching from the UK, from Japan, from Canada, from the Netherlands, Germany. Like we had people watching from all over. It was so cool. I liked, we we had guys in the comments being like, I'm going to go out to Santa Pod next weekend. They're going to have pro mods, and here's the body styles that they're doing. I'm like, that would be awesome. And it was just so cool. And so when you guys watch the next stream, do not be afraid to drop your comments. And we will be live in 2-ish weeks time. So not this coming weekend, Memorial Day weekend, but the weekend after at the Shakedown, Thailand. Yeah, we had somebody watch from Thailand. I think we know who.
But real quick, we won't be. Midwest won't be.
Yes, Midwest won't be. I should say that.
Right.
The
Yeah,
Shakedown will be
Flow.
live on Flow.
Yeah, they will be running the Flow. Flow is sending in a whole team. The Duck Elks deal, so it's a big deal. This is a race that was around for a long time and was away for a while and is back. And Midwest is proud to be a part of it.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, there's got to be some trash talking going on this coming next,
Yeah.
9
Well, if you
days.
haven't seen Trash Talking, you can look up Keith Haney on Facebook, and
He's pretty good at it. He is pretty good at it for sure.
oh, he's taking it. He's taking a lot of it too. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how all of that goes with
Oh, yeah.
the Midwest Racers. Again, Pro Mod, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster are going to be on site.
Mhm.
They're in the midst with all the radio stuff they have going on.
Yep. And if you don't have access to Flow, first off, they do great content. So I'm sure Duck has a link for that.
Mhm.
And if you can't watch the Shakedown for whatever reason, let's pretend that's your anniversary weekend. You can always find us at MidwestDragRacingSeries.com, at Midwest Drag Racing Series on Facebook, on YouTube. Make sure to go there and subscribe. And finally, we will be in Kansas. The worst time. We will be in Kansas City with another free to watch live stream for the summer SmackDown. Narks,
Yeah.
I think we're about ready to land this plane, my man.
Yep, I appreciate you, dude. Thank you for
I
doing this.
appreciate you.
and-
You got
and hey, look.
tornadoes. I was gonna say you got tornadoes in your alley,
Oh.
and I'm the one who's going up and down.
Listen, it's pretty crazy out here right now. I can hear it really rustling around. But I do want to say again, we are looking for ambassadors for classes.
Yes.
If you are a top sportsman, top dragster, junior, if you're a pro 420, we can have Dave come up and talk, or anyone else that wants to come up. We want those updates. We want to know those. We want to tell those stories of
Yep.
those racers that are in that class as well.
Absolutely. You could drop a line to Ellen, to Mike, to Richard, anyone. We are always willing to talk, and we love
Yep.
to do it. And so I'm trying to fix this. There we go. And so for the Summit Racing Equipment Midwest Drag Racing Series, I am Luke. That is my good friend Mike Narks. We will see you guys in just a couple weeks. You guys have a great Memorial Day, and we will see you.
All right, sweet, dude.